In March of 2025, I met with a representative of Warneal Properties named Taylor at their North Main Street office, 1501 North Main Street, Dayton, Ohio, which looks like it's not a licensed address to conduct real estate transactions. But I went there several times and signed my lease and paid my deposits and all that to move into a property they own in the 45405 zip code. There were several documents issues when I first moved in, and one of those was my issue with having to use the Rent Ready property management website and their rent portal. Within the first month of moving in here, the Rent Ready application had used my personal data and my debit card to add an unauthorized purchase to my debit card by placing an insurance policy on my account that I had looked at on their website, but I never gave them any information or confirmation through the normal channels for making such a transaction. The problem I started having with the landlord is they wouldn't answer the phone. They wouldn't answer their emails, and the Rent Ready app would not let me set up auto pay. And of course, the unauthorized purchase was an issue. And I told Taylor she wasn't going to bring the information by here, the documents she wanted me to sign and all that stuff. I was going to come down there to the office and get it. And she turned that into some kind of aggressive thing, like she was scared I was coming down there to hurt her and all this dramatic nonsense. So I would spend the next year being treated like a second-class citizen, like some kind of dirtbag terrorist, every time any of the employees got near me. And every month, I would set up auto pay for the next month. And because of the staggering way between the Public Housing Authority payment and my payment were being entered, auto pay would kick out the auto pay because there was a past due balance created between those payments. So every month, it would eventually get entered into the system. And sometimes that delay would cause me to get all these emails about my payment being late. And because I couldn't get a hold of anyone at the office, I would get nervous about getting behind and service charges and all that. So I would try to make the payment. And I was having issues with the payment because it was kicking out different amounts because it didn't match what it thought I should be paying and all this stuff. So it created a bunch of overpayments and extra service charges. Fast forward to, and these, Andrew Joyner harassed me and the maintenance people harassed me for a year to get my trailer out of the parking lot. A trailer, by definition, is a vehicle. And I'm allowed to have two vehicles on this property. And their apartment, their parking lot is empty. You go out there right now, my truck is the only thing sitting in the parking lot. And there's 12 spaces back there. So eventually I sold the trailer. And I regretted every ever since, because now all my tools are in my bedroom, and just an unnecessary year-long harassment. Because they were treating me like dirt and everything else that was going on during that time. I caved into the pressure and sold my trailer, which now I need because they're trying to terminate my lease. What a dirtbag situation these people are. So, in the past year or maybe a year and a half, there's been 3 shootings right here on the street, right in front of these apartments. 2 of the people are dead. One of the shootings, the bullets went into a War Neal property right here with a woman and her children inside. And they had to move. They moved out without a question. They were boom, they were gone. This property had, I've gone out the back door and come face to face with U.S. Marshals in full tactical gear getting ready to breach. Well, they were breaching the apartment out front, but I went out the back door. They had the back door covered in case somebody was coming out the back door. So imagine that, you know. And several times I start going out the front door, and I go out the front door, and there'd be a sheriff's department out there, full tactical gear, looking for somebody, and they would breach an apartment here. That's because of the kind of people that, you know, they end up renting in places like this, and I've always felt like Andre had some kind of relationship with some of that because of the way the maintenance people. I'm no idiot, you know. So one day I'm leaving out here to get in my vehicle. Well, I actually go out and work on my vehicle, and there's people playing dominoes out back and stuff, and pulling guns out and pointing them at me and stuff like that. And they don't know me. I told the neighbor over here, I said, these people don't know me. I'll go over there, start my truck up, and I'll mow every one of them fuckers down. They don't be pulling no gun on me. You know, that's, no, what am I going to do, call the police and then get shot by one of them later? No. Couldn't tell Andre because I felt that you had a connection to these people. So, anyway, I said it to the neighborhood Karen over here, and I knew she would call and tell him, and then that never happened again. Those people never came back. But you know, these people, a lot of people that live. Well, here's the thing about my trailer. My trailer, when I moved my trailer down to the end of the parking lot, and that stopped all of the stolen vehicles that were getting dropped off here. People steal these vehicles and drop them off in this parking lot. One of them was a big F-350 four-wheel drive that they ran right down the side of my truck. Did anybody say anything about that? Fuck no, they didn't. Andre Joyner is a piece of shit. I wouldn't piss in his mouth if his face was on fire. So, anyways, I moved my trailer down there to the end. It stopped all that. It stopped all the druggies out partying in the back and all the prostitutes parking out back and doing their tricks. The minute I moved my trailer out of here, what do you think happened? So, and he doesn't care about the safety of anybody at this property. He just was throwing that out to the about me to these public housing authority because he's in perpetual victimhood. That's how these people operate, you know. So fast forward to the 12th of June. There was a storm here, and there was a failure of equipment here on this property that caused everybody's apartment to be flooded. And the basement apartments got a lot of their belongings destroyed, and Andre Joyner created a chat on the Rent Ready app for everybody to discuss what was going on with the flood. Everybody was complaining about their stuff that they had lost, their clothing, their electronics that were destroyed, and they were wanting answers. Andrew wasn't giving any answers. He was just coordinating with his maintenance crew to get these apartments and get into these apartments and shop back the water back up and help with the cleanup. He asked me if the crew had showed up here, and I said they hadn't. He knows I have a disability and a hernia on top of that, multiple neck surgeries and back restrictions. He never sent over the crew to do anything, and I had to clean up my apartment by myself and shop back the garbage and the water off the floor and get gasoline for my truck and go to the laundromat that had a large enough machine to dry a mountain of blankets. So I sent enter an email to give him an opportunity to speak to me privately. And he ignored it for 4 days. So I went right to the flood chat and put it out there on the public chat. The issue that I was facing and the fact that I expected payment, reimbursement, compensation for this flood that was not my fault. Andrew comes on the chat and says, this is a chat for talking about the flood, as if I weren't talking about the flood. So I went over to this chat he told me to go over to on the Rent Ready app. And he wouldn't answer what I was saying over there, so I just copied and pasted that right into the flood chat, and he lost his mind. He clipped certain pieces of what I said in the chat and sent that by email to the Public Housing Authority and Veterans Administration people that work on my case, trying to spin me into this terrorist and that somehow this was my fault. So he was full-blown victimhood at that point. That went on for a few days, and all this boils down to is the overpayment. Public housing people had moved forward with negotiation without confirming any of the information about the accounting or any of that stuff to even see if I would agree to it. So it started off on the wrong foot in that perspective. So we had to start all over again. On our side, I got the Rent Ready app trying to assist the Public Housing Authority and the VA people getting the accounting transcript of my rent history. And after failing several times, I got on there and finally got a girl who acted like she knew what she was doing, or so I thought. And then she tries to have me download the files from the website. I've already been through this stuff before where people want their spyware and their garbage on my computer, so I refused. And she kept trying to get me to download this from their website, and I'm like, listen, just send it. Send the document by itself, by email. Oh, I can't do that. I can't access your account, which is a bold-faced lie. She was trying to share with me on the site. She had it right there on her screen. I mean, these people are, I guess they must deal with a bunch of really dumb people. Anyways, she was really aggravating me with this. There's nothing more I despise than a liar. So I turned on my video editing application on my computer and I videotaped our conversation that was happening on their message, and every word that we typed in on the messenger was coming up immediately in the email on my computer, and vice versa. So I sent her the video proving she was a liar. I told her I'm done with this chat. The next email notification I get from Rent Ready better be the accounting information, or I'm going to file a complaint for cyberstalking. I didn't know the requirements for that filing, but I did end up making a criminal complaint about the cyberbullying and the non-stop harassment. She kept sending me email notifications to come back to the chat. So I got on there and I said, look up. There you go. I said, I'm done with you. And then another girl gets on and she goes into the same bullshit. Well, she decided she was going to, she was saying, I see you requesting this accounting information, but we can't access your account. The same fucking lie. And then after a couple of those harassing emails, she finally says, I've added your landlord to this conversation. Something she had no business doing, and it was done out of spite. And then the owner, or one of the owners, or whatever, whoever George is, gets on there trying to tell me that this is because my rent is late and all that stuff. And I told him, shut his fucking mouth. He didn't know what he was talking about. This was about an overpayment on my account he had no business being involved in, and it was already being investigated and mitigated by the Public Housing Authority and the VA personnel, which he probably destroyed that. But he's going to pay for that severely. I keep getting emails after email after that, and I just quit answering them. Contacted the police and made a report. And they don't know. I've already filed complaints with the Ohio Division of Real Estate Licensing, and I'm going to the Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Communication Commission, and the insurance, the Dayton Insurance Division for that little policy they added to my account through an unauthorized transaction. And I'm going to be looking for a lawyer. I want to teach these people a financial lesson for the financial position they put me in. They don't care. They don't care. But they're going to care. I promise you.